Hi, I'm Kristen of White Arrows Home, and I love to share with you on my blog each month what I'm going to be reading. Reading is one of my biggest passions, and I love sharing it with you. I love getting recommendations from my followers and my friends about what I should read next. And then I share how I fit reading into my busy life. I read at least 4 books a month. And I know that sounds crazy, but I found a way to make it fit in really easily. I didn't even know I actually read this way until I started to think about it to write my first blog post. So one book I read each month is to help encourage me in my faith. I call it my quiet time book. And I usually read a chapter of this book each morning while I drink my coffee and have a little bit of quiet time before the whole household wakes up. A second book I call my wait time book. It's one that I keep in the car, keep in my purse, and have if I need it while I'm waiting for the kids to come out of practices, or I have a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. I'm never bored when I'm waiting because I have a book with me I can't wait to pick up. It's usually a personal development book. Another book I read is just for the pure joy of reading. So it might be a book that someone's recommended to me, a bestseller, one I've seen at the bookstore or the airport. It's one that I maybe have on my Pinterest, what I should read next, or on my bedside table stacking up. A lot of times they're works of historical fiction, and one that I just want to get lost in. That's a book I usually read maybe on a road trip or curled up by the fire at night or in bed before I go to sleep. The fourth book is one I call my chore time book. It's an audiobook, and I fell in love a few years ago with audiobooks. I love to listen to them when I'm driving around and when I'm doing chores. They make the work go so much faster. For my quiet time book, I'm reading Unseen by Sarah Haggerty, and it's a fitting book for my life because it's all about the gift of being hidden in a world that loves to be noticed. And with my life as a blogger, podcaster, writer, social media influencer, a lot of what I do is about being seen and checking all those likes and comments and what are people thinking about me and how are they responding and did they like this post or not like that post. And I have to be very conscious all the time of keeping myself in check and thinking about what God says about me first and what I know is true compared to what is not true, and to know who I am and not that it's based on likes and other things. Do I want to have a lot of likes? Do I want you to like the content I'm putting out? You bet I do. It is important to me, but mostly it's important to me because I want to encourage you. I want to share the things I'm loving with you and hope that it helps you to have a better day and to make your life feel more connected and directed. So yeah, I care about it a lot, but I also need to stay grounded in who I am. And so this book that I'm reading a chapter of each morning to just get my day started in the right way and encourage my faith. So here's a little excerpt from Unseen by Sarah Haggerty that gives you a little picture into what this book is about. Rarely do I notice the roots of a tree unless my feet stumble over them. I may notice the way branches above me cut across the sky as I pull out of my driveway. I may sit with my toddler in the shade or pick apples in an orchard with my children in early autumn. I may roll a newly fallen leaf between my fingers, but most of the time I walk unaware right over the roots, the hidden life of every tree that makes everything else, branches, shade, fruit, and leaves, possible at all. Often the obvious accomplishments of our days get most of our attention, but noticing the roots, much less tending to them, seems secondary when there are branches to climb and fruit to pick. We live for what is right in front of us, while God is ever so gently calling us toward the unseen, His unseen. So I love that part about how the unseen parts matter so much, and God can find us in the quiet parts. So there's lots to learn out of this book and lots of encouragement for me, and I hope for you as well. My wait time book this month is one that has been on my list for, it could have been on my list for over 10 years. I finally bought it maybe a year ago, and it's been sitting in my stack, so I'm finally reading it. And one of the shocking things to me is how long this book has actually been around. How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Only Book You Need to Lead You to Success by Dale Carnegie. So probably a lot of you were like, yep, I read that one years ago. I thought it was probably from back when I was growing up and seeing it on my parents' bookshelf. I didn't know that it is actually from the 30s. So it just shows you that good advice is lasting. So this has been really fun to read. I've been reading about a chapter a day of this as well. And that lets me get through a lot of books when I can break it up into those chunks. And just some great principles for living life and being kind to others. One of the things I love about this book by Dale Carnegie are the stories he tells. He tells things about historical figures and historical events and uses all those to share his points. So it's very entertaining and easy reading. I kept saying, I was reading some of it on a drive and kept saying to my husband, oh, listen to this part, listen to this part, listen to this part, which is always a sign of a good book. So just to show you chapter 1, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. So right from the beginning, you get some great advice. And the end of chapter 1, in a nutshell, the fundamental techniques in handling people. Principle 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Principle 2, give honest and sincere appreciation. And principle 3, arouse in the other person an eager want. So there is so much practical good advice in how to win friends and influence people. And if you're like me and you've always been curious and never picked it up, then I encourage you to do so because it's full of wisdom. My Just for the Love of Reading book, I picked up at the bookstore. Sometimes it's so much fun to just go and browse the bookstore and pick out a book to read. So I picked this one based on the cover, Another Day Gone by Eliza Graham. And picking the book out and even reading the back, I still wasn't quite sure. I was surprised when I started reading it what it was really about. But I loved the little picture of the lake and the rowboat on there. So here's what the back says. The bond between sisters runs deeper than blood. So that got me right there too. Coventry, 1939. Days before the outbreak of World War II, a terrorist bomb explodes on a busy street, killing and maiming innocent civilians. A man is hanged on the evidence given by a young witness. As time goes on, the witness doubts her recollection of events, but her testimony has already had far-reaching consequences. Over 60 years later, in the wake of the 7/7 London bombings, Sarah returns to her childhood home to find that her sister Polly, missing for nearly 20 years, has finally come back too. Why now and where has she been? The sisters grew up under the fierce protection of their nanny, Bridie, herself haunted by a family secret. And there are other secrets that Bridie has kept from the two girls she brought up as her own. Polly's return sets in motion events that will stretch the women's fragile bond to its breaking point. So this one is so appealing just by reading the back and being curious about what the mystery of this is. I love when there's 2 time periods or more within a book that go back and share a family's history and story or how things are connected. So I highly recommend Another Day Gone by Eliza Graham. And for my chore time book, I'm doing an audiobook that my daughter actually recommended. It's one that she has just put on her list, and I thought, that sounds really good to me. It's called Becoming Mrs. Lewis, and it's about the wife of C.S. Lewis. And it reminded me, right when I heard that, about a movie I had loved back maybe when I was in high school called Shadowlands. And so I can't wait to rewatch that one, but I'm going to wait till my daughter and I both finish Becoming Mrs. Lewis, and then we can watch it together and kind of compare the books and that movie. So I don't know if you have read that yet. I would love to hear if you have, if you've read any of these books. But I'm excited to listen to it on audio. I do have a road trip coming up, so I'm going to be putting that in my earbuds and driving to a wonderful story. I hope that you'll follow me on the blog, www.whitearrowshome.com, where you can get my monthly reads and a lot of other encouragement and decor tips. You can follow me here on YouTube. I'd love it if you'd subscribe so that you can keep up with what I'm reading and you can give me feedback on what you would recommend. You can also join my Facebook group for readers. You can go and search Fireside Book Club or go to www.facebook.com/groups/Fireside Book Club. So can't wait to connect with you over our love of books.